One thing is breaking trust, everything is hard to believe, meaning one lie, one false statement, then no longer trustworthy. Buddha taught that if you lie just once, you will get used to it and will lie many more times. If you break a precept once, you will break it many more times, because the Mahayana scriptures were written by masters who had not yet attained enlightenment, meaning they were still full of greed, they only knew how to explain them to satisfy the practitioner's psychology. Therefore, any practitioner who reads Mahayana scriptures will become addicted. When addicted, one no longer knows where one went wrong. Because the practitioner has satisfied his lust without even knowing it. Practicing according to Mahayana scriptures, the practitioner eventually returns to worldly life, fighting for power, deceiving the people, enjoying the fleeting blessings of the world. When he discovers it, he is already addicted, already used to living like that. Because we feel sorry for the practitioner, we present false evidence to save the practitioner from ignorance. We do not dispute with Mahayana, but practitioners bring their ignorance to defend their mistakes. Mahayana monks and universities around the world misinterpret the Buddha's teachings as follows. 1. The most important is the Eightfold Path. Right livelihood. They explain that right livelihood is a profession. As we know, the profession of monks and nuns is begging for one meal every day. Because of wrong teachings, it leads to monks and nuns selling sutras and dharma, studying to become lecturers and then working as tools to earn money, just like the life of businesses and civil servants. So what ethics is this? Mahayana teaches that one should learn morality first before becoming a monk. Is this hypocrisy, deceiving the innocent people? Master Min Chao, after translating the Nikaya Sutras, painfully quoted the immortal quote of Martin Luther King. There are many people in the world who suffer, not because of the craziness of bad people, but because of the silence of good people. Because good people who remain silent in the face of wrongdoing are complicit in that crime. Mindfulness. They explain that chanting sutras, praying, and imploring the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and precepts will help them to practice successfully. Praying to Buddha, begging to Sangha, can still be reluctantly accepted. But praying to Dharma, begging to precepts, what is this? How can Dharma save us? How can precepts protect us? Praying to Dharma, begging to precepts, what can we get? O learned Buddhist scholars. 2. In the 12 causes and conditions. They cannot explain as clearly as Venerable Elder Thong Lak and Master Tan Tien have explained for the common people to understand clearly. They think, ignorance is stupid. Master Tan Tien taught that ignorance is the ultimate intelligence of greed. Studying to become a doctor, engineer, lawyer, PhD. What are they stupid about? The Mahayana meaning is that anyone who does not become a monk is ignorant and stupid. So what is a monk who is immersed in greed and enjoys the fleeting blessings of this world called? What is it if not ignorance? Thus, Mahayana scolds them for being stupid and not knowing. Isn't that right, dear talented scholars? Dependent origin, they say it is birth. Oh my! What kind of children does a monk give birth to? It makes many monks famous, even calling for monks to get married, have children, and Buddhists to raise them together. Is that the right law? 3. In the 37 Bodhipika, they are clueless, explaining in a roundabout way like an eel wriggling. 4. In the Northern Canon it is recorded that, because this exists, that exists, because this does not exist, that does not exist, because this arises, that arises. Because this ceases, that ceases. The whole forest of monks, nuns, and profound Buddhist scholars all over the world and in Vietnam do not know where the mistake is. They are addicted to believing that Buddha's teachings are true. How pitiful! Which Buddha taught that if a table has a surface, a chair must have a surface? Which Buddha taught that if a chair breaks, the table must break too? Read the Dharma talk, 12 Causes and Conditions, explained by Master Tan Tien, and practitioners will understand right away. Not understanding what the 12 links of dependent origination taught by Buddha are, they opened universities and taught lecturers to preach wrongly what Buddha taught without even knowing it. Even the most famous and profound Buddhist scholars were ignorant. Bowing their heads and praising the original sutras. Great! so true. Exactly as Buddha taught. Tong Kong Du Tien attributed this nonsense to Buddha's teachings, then used it to argue against the Holy Thong Lak. 5. In the Snake Sutra, their interpretation is even more wrong. They explain that nothing means no nature. Yes means no. No means yes. The reason they teach wrongly is because they do not practice on their own. They only rely on the text and words and then deduce. Between theory and practice, the meaning is as far apart as heaven and earth. Without successful practice, it is impossible to correctly interpret the Buddha's teachings. The Snake Sutra, no here means unmovable mind. Reading The Way to Buddha Land, Master Thong Lak explains very clearly. If Master Thong Lak did not practice to attain enlightenment and end greed, how could he explain clearly the Buddha's teachings to save practitioners from ignorance? Yet there are practitioners who use their own ignorance to argue against the teachings of Master Thong Lak. How pitiful! 6. Nothing is more stupid. Mahayana teaches Buddhists that Shalabhandak was a man without memory, a fool. Mahayana did not know that Mr. Shalabhandak was the most intelligent person in the world. How smart is he? He did not believe in Buddha immediately. He silently listened to Buddha preach to the monks. After a long time, he learned many of the Buddha's teachings and he clearly saw that many monks had attained the fruit of Arhat. Now he believed, he decided to practice and he asked Buddha to give him the Dharma to practice. He pretended to say to Buddha, "Venerable Gautama, I am foolish. The Buddha taught so many dharmas that I cannot remember. Please, Buddha, give me the Dharma to practice." Buddha knew that he was an intelligent and careful person, so Buddha said, "You can choose any method you like. As long as that method helps you practice having an unmoving mind, that's enough." So he chose the 4 foundations of mindfulness that suited him, and he returned home to diligently practice and attain enlightenment. One person follows Buddha to know for sure, one person chooses his own practice, so are you stupid? 7. Even worse. Monks, nuns, and scholars all over the world read and teach wrongly without knowing what is wrong. Example 1. Whoever does not believe in Amitabha Buddha will have their head broken into 7 pieces. So will those who believe in other religions have their heads broken into 7 pieces? Example 2. Even if one commits a sin greater than a mountain, one should recite a few lines of the Lotus Sutra. Is that true? For theft, robbery, and murder, one can simply recite the Lotus Sutra and escape the crime. Do the police, the courts, and the juries agree? There is still so much evidence, but Master Tan Tien only presents this much so that readers can believe the truth that Mahayana scriptures should not be believed and should be completely destroyed. Master Tan Tien should not present any more evidence, because if he does so, he will unintentionally lead readers to read Mahayana scriptures. If a practitioner reads Mahayana scriptures, he will fall into a maze without knowing the way out, because Mahayana is written in the language of Kim Dung's martial arts novels, skillfully making readers believe it as if it were real. To put it simply, sociologists advise people not to smoke opium because it will ruin your life. It is enough for a sociologist to show how depraved opium smokers are. Who doesn't believe? Let them. But if the sociologist gives them opium to try, it puts them in a state of hopeless addiction. 8. Meanwhile, what about Mr. Thong Lak? The Buddha taught Subhata that when monks practice and preach the Dharma correctly, this world will never be empty of liberated arahants. Too obvious. Master Thong Lak practices correctly, lives alone, eats 1 meal a day, and has no money. After attaining enlightenment, he transmitted the exact and correct Dharma to the monks to practice. There were some monks who attained liberation. A typical example was the great Master Chan Tan, a monk who came from the wrong Mahayana sect. Through correct practice, following the teachings of Master Thong Lak, he volunteered to open a monastery in Ba Vai, Hanoi, accepting students to transmit the Dharma correctly. It is so obvious that Arhat Thich Thong Lak is a great saint, looking from above at the pile of poisonous Mahayana scriptures, the monastic life entrapping the people in the dark forest of superstition. He spoke up to save the ignorant addicts. What good does it do you? Is that right, O illustrious scholars of the world? To be silent in the face of Mahayana's wrongdoings is to be complicit in that crime. Note: many people have spoken out that 1. Master Thong Lak must not speak ill of Mahayana. That is not to speak ill, but to speak out the truth of Mahayana to save ignorant people. If the truth is not told, how will innocent people know they are being deceived? 2. Whoever practices according to Amitabha, then practice. Whoever practices according to Shakyamuni Buddha, then practice. River water does not violate well water. For the Dharma, it is to save people from the blind, not to fight for rights and demand to divide them. The Dharma awakens and helps people become enlightened. Those who are enlightened will avoid the temptations of darkness and ignorance that harm their lives. Whoever is stupid, just be yourself. No one forced me.